Later this morning, I will share with you an interview that I did earlier this week with Ben Courson about his brother, Peter John Courson. And for those in the Southern Oregon area, most of you already know what's going on with this situation, as Pastor Peter John has been fighting Crohn's disease and now is fighting terminal cancer. And it's a very sad situation. But on the other hand, the message coming from Peter John of hope and peace, it's staggering. It's absolutely staggering. And so at the end of the special service, and you'll see this whole interview coming up later this morning, but Ben, at the end of the service, Peter John prayed. It was a short prayer. It was powerful. And then Ben was asked to pray over his brother. Here's a little bit of that prayer.
I think of what Paul said over and over and over again. May grace and peace be with you. And when I think of Peter John's life and who he is, what he personifies and embodies, it's grace and peace. I think of, over the years, his laser focus on grace. How, even as we read, Jesus said, one thing is needful. Mary has chosen the better part, just sitting at Jesus' feet. Father, I thank you that Pete has chosen that message of grace, because really the grace message chose him. We thank you that he's spoken as the oracles of God year after year, faithfully preaching grace, and how it's changed our lives. For me, it's absolutely transformed my life. I think of how I've devoted my life to the message of hope, and I do that because I watched Peter blaze a trail and pioneer a message of grace with that one thing mentality, that focus. And we thank you for the grace that we've received from his messages, but also for the peace that he embodies, for the peace that passes understanding, for the eye of the storm, the peace and courage in the midst of battling cancer. Lord, we thank you for the grace and for the peace that's upon him.
Well, it's a little bit of it. Later today, I had Ben with me. We will share parts of Peter John's message to the congregation. I've never witnessed anything like this before. I mean, I went there thinking, he's so sick. How could he possibly come out and give a message?
Right, yeah.
And he did it. And he sat in that chair and he spoke to that congregation. The place was packed, standing room only. They were sitting on the floor. They were sitting on the steps. They were out in the foyer. They were in every available room where they had a television where they could see it. Wow. And he shared his struggle, his challenge, but he talked about peace. And if there's ever been a witness that when you're dealing with the reality of life, and death is a reality.
Yes.
And when you face your own mortality, you look at it. The older you get, the more you think about it, the more you think about how crazy all the world stuff is, and materialism, how unnecessary it is, you know. And here's this young man in his early 40s that began to give the message of peace. And I would invite you to listen to the whole interview coming up a little bit later on this morning.